Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe. Hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patrons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation to Giuseppe Montesano, Jimmy Eats Soup, Mitch Kennedy, Original D-Rose, Rod, The Name's Burley, Twad Wazzle, Jason Hornsby, Christoph Fournier, Flat Earth Travolta, J Mels24, Unimento, M, Iron26, Endless, Goldie McKinnon, Retro Bill, More Books, Roll Wheel would work. More Books, Cannabear, Bogey, Michael Kahn, John Kays, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Mel B. Styles, Troy Shuker, Harry Blade, Mobile Mac 777, Rob W. Reese Pound, Dal West Watson, Maria Neelands, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, Abraham Mohammed, Skeptic 936, Life is Short, Texas Mike, Tina Baker, David Wayne Foster, and Dank. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Back down my lens. Isn't that pointless me setting up this to actually do it on camera if I'm not going to do it on camera, but there we go. Such is life. With that, I'm going to hand over to whoever is in Discord and G+, so you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show.
Earth's rising up, you're not falling. I'm a flat earther, no time for balling. That's Dale's new single coming out. It's from his debut album. His debut album, Take That Leap of Faith, Earth will meet you in the middle.
So Nathan, is that what you had to listen to when you were going to the acting school all day? People doing that?
The upside down Australian. Is it just you or everyone in Australia says upside down? You might be.
All of us. We have to be, right?
Oh, really? Oh, I see.
Yeah, it's antipodal, so.
Oh, antipode. I thought you guys were hanging off trees or something like that, upside down, like the monkeys.
I mean, it depends because, you guys appear upside down to us. But just because we're at the bottom, we say, we're the upside down ones.
Oh, I see. So you guys don't say that the people living in the north are upside down. You wouldn't say that.
They appear to be upside down to us. The problem is we can't see them through all that molten core and, all that sort of stuff.
I hope you're joking.
So what do you say to somebody in Australia that is getting beside himself? Don't
Yeah,
let it
that's
rush
beyond
to
my
your
pay grade.
head.
It's you couldn't pay me $1 billion to care, to pretend. So even if I was at that pay grade, I still wouldn't. I'd denounce it,
But I just was wondering if it's only the Australians. What about the South Africans or, I don't know, Brazilians? Are they still upside down or just Australians are upside down?
I don't know. I think I mean, people have said Australians are upside down, but I kind of coined the upside down Australian, if someone else tries to claim it. But yeah, I'd like to see the upside down South African. And is that it? Is that the only place in the upside down South American? The upside down Brazilian?
Or the sideways equatorial?
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. The sideways people.
What about the inverted Brazilian?
Yep.
Thank God y'all are joking.
The-
Like, there was a moment
Yeah,
there.
it's just the ones.
I'm worried.
I mean, the ones that are left, right? It's just the globers that are left that just like really defend it,
Yeah,
Like there's a
they'll have to
difference,
debunk Einstein first, isn't it? Because
Mm.
if there is no force of attraction to the center of a spherical Earth, if that doesn't exist, and it doesn't exist since 1915, that should be the end of the story right there.
Yeah, I
Einstein
mean,
debunked gravity of being a force, so that should be the nail in the coffin. If there is
he
no,
snapped the wand in two.
yeah, correct.
You know when
Well,
they do
down
the drop down, like all the multiple, like the frequently asked questions, like who said gravity is not a force and all this sort of stuff. Like it's already there, if you type in flat Earth backwards, hit enter, it takes it like the first thing is NASA, right? First website that pops up is NASA if you type in flat Earth backwards.
I didn't know.
Yeah, so if you go on Google and type in flat Earth, but backwards, like HTREAETALF, and you hit enter, the first website that pops up is NASA.com.
Get out of here. Are you serious?
Yeah.
I'm gonna do that right
But
now.
that's just part of the mocking. It's just part of the mocking and, like the tongue out and all that stuff. Einstein, It's really like a sick, twisted game when it comes down to it, Like, they don't have to lie about the shape. There's no need to do it. So, like, the Globers, why would they lie? It's like, they sort of have a point, but they don't have a point. Like, do you know what I mean? But, like, why would they lie?
You're not
They don't need to
lying. I
lie.
just did it. He's serious. I just did it.
Yeah, I told you, man.
They are
That's what they
literally
do.
mocking everyone. They're mocking everyone.
Yeah, but if you show that to, like, a Glober or a believer, whatever you want to call them, who cares if they're anti-flat Earth, whatever, right? They'll just deny it, man. Like, they just think that it means nothing. They're like, oh, that doesn't mean anything.
We just
Like,
use it to be flat and stationary for any type of navigation. That should be a starting point, isn't it? The grid system that we use for navigation is based on the flat and stationary Earth. It's even on the books, isn't it? Your destination cannot be moving from its place. Yeah, you go to your grid system, you check your destination, you mark your course, and off you go.
I got one guy at work. He's onto it because I made him start asking the questions, So he's like telling me like, oh, I don't really care in that, and I'm like, it's too late for you, man, because you already started asking questions, so you can't go back now. It's going to hit you soon. Even like, like you say like the tides and all that shit, right? But like even if you go to the beach and just see the shore coming in, and when they say about like the water in the bucket, they're like, oh, it's the bucket, like whatever, like the water isn't sloshing around in that bucket because it's going around. So like even if their gravity is like spinning the ball and that's what holds it all, then how would the water be moving around anyway inside of it?
Well, the
It's
next
just
time you have a question for your work colleague, don't forget to offer him a cookie.
cookie. We actually had cookies today. Interesting. Yeah. Yeah. So he's like he used to do like a lot of drugs and stuff, right? So he's already like he's into like a few conspiracies and that. Yeah. So like obviously it's sparked his interest when this is how it happened. He was watching a video and it was like they were making fun of flat earthers, right? And they recently found out I was vegan and all that. So he was like, "Oh, you're probably one of those flat earthers, aren't you? Flat earth vegan." And then I said, "Well, the earth's not a globe, my man. I'll tell you that." He's like, "Oh, no way. You are. You're a flat earther." And I said, "What the?" I didn't say I was. He's like, "You're joking." I'm like, "I'm being dead serious, man. The earth's not a globe." And so, like, it's been like 4 weeks now, but he started messaging me, asking me questions and sending me links and all this sort of stuff. So,
Well, it's a flat globe. I'll give you that. A very flat globe, because globes have flat planes, you know.
according to Merriam-Webster.
Mm.
Who is that? Who is Merriam-Webster anyway?
Very good question.
Level means curved? Like,
What?
curved, curved means level? Level means not having any...
Yeah, but these things cannot be up for interpretation, can it? Imagine a civil engineer confusing level with curve. I mean, it's moronic. It's only when you go to micro scale that the Earth turns into a sphere somehow.
Hmm. Yeah. But it's complicated because if you go to try to explain to someone, you can go in simple terms, but there's so many aspects to it, you know? Like if you start talking to them, if they don't understand what a logical fallacy is to begin with, who has the burden of proof, what an actual claim is, who has the claim here in this situation, any of that, the difference between like believing and knowing. So like you're going into like,
Well, there are things you
yeah.
can confirm. You know, there
Oh,
are
yeah.
things you can confirm.
Yep.
Yeah, like elevation angles, they require a flat baseline in order to do so. Because it's in the definition of elevation angle, isn't it? It's an angle above horizontal.
Yep.
So there's plenty of things out there that you can confirm for yourself. Gas pressure without a container is another one. You know, a measurement needs to be repeatable. If it's not a measurement, and so on, so on. There's so many things you can do for yourself. You don't need to rely on other people to tell you so.
Yeah. He is a good sport because he sent me a link today and it mentioned gravity and all that, and I was like, well what's gravity? And then he didn't the whole like pick something up and dropped it, you know, and said that's
Yeah, but
there. And I
gravity is
said, all
just a
right.
concept. It's just a concept that people study in school for some reason. The problem is that
Mm,
we apply it into reality. That's the problem. But
mm-hmm.
apart from that, it's just it's like studying Shakespeare or studying any other subject, which is just not even a theory. It's just a story.
Yeah, so I said I'll do the exact same thing as you, right? But watch this. And I dropped it, and when I dropped it I said fairy dust. You know, it's the same thing. If I drop something and I say, oh, that's gravity, but it's not demonstrated to you, like you just say that, I can just say pixies, I can say green elves. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, but we have to agree that some things go up, some things go down, some things go sideways.
Yeah, you have
And,
a
and you're describing things that go down, but you can also describe things that go up, or things that don't go anywhere. They don't move at all.
yeah, we have no cause for the effect. That's just it. There's no
It's just
cause for that effect. It's
just
not
the lay of
determined.
nature, isn't it? Equilibrium.
Mm. But it can't be demonstrated. That's the problem.
Oh yeah.
Like, you can't follow the scientific method and then demonstrate the cause for the effect of things falling. Like, when you pick it up and drop it, the cause is you, right? But what's the cause for it's not, can't do that.
Yeah, but a lot of things are entropy related, isn't it? Erosion, for example, as to why rocks fall, can roll from a mountain, or the end of the cycle of the apple on its tree, which will have to fall from the tree. It's the end of its cycle. I mean, so many things. All of these things, they have descriptions, yeah, which is in tropical laws. Nothing to do with this nonsense of gravity and forces pulling. Nonsense.
Yeah.
It has to do with seasons and so on and so on.
What do you think about time zones? You think time zones are real? Because I think time zones don't exist. I think it's fake.
Well, the time zone is based on the sun being in its highest peak at 12 noon, isn't it? But again, not everywhere is like that, because politically,
Yeah.
you can change your time zone for whatever benefit of the country, of the people. So not
Yeah.
necessarily has to do with the sun's position in the sky, but it used to be, though.
Yeah. But you think like the conceptual medium that we all exist in right now, you think we're all in the exact same time?
What do you mean in the exact same time?
Like, there's only one time. There's no such thing as like different times, because, for example, like me and you, it's a different time where you are like a man-made concept, like 12 a.m. or whatever. For me, it's 8:30 p.m. But me
Yeah,
and
but
you
it's
are
driven from the sun's cycle, isn't it? From the lights in the sky. The cycle of the lights in the sky gives us the time zone.
Yeah. But the actual time, So, but like the actual time that we exist in now is the same for us, me and you. That's why we're talking instantaneously right now.
Yeah,
Well,
I see what you're coming
Hold
from.
on, okay.
Yeah, there's a
no,
difference between time and the present. I think that's what you're.
Yeah.
no
Yeah, but
model.
like with the
No,
because I just use. Yeah, I've been saying this to the Globers who talk about time zones, because I tell them there's no such thing. Like, yeah, the sun, where the sun is, that's it. The sun, position of the sun.
Well,
But the actual time right now, it's the same for me and you. That's why we can talk like instantaneously right now. There's
okay.
no
pardon me.
lag, nothing.
Yeah, but present time has nothing to do with the time zones. That's why time is a
All right.
concept.
But
Your time is different
but
from
hold
my
on.
Yeah.
time, even though we are both in the present time.
No
It's
model.
Pardon me.
So
it's
if I
two
can just get a
different
word
things of
in,
time
please.
we're talking about.
No model. You do not have 24 hours on the same calendar day. They have to overlap time.
You can't get 24 hours on a globe, or you can't get time zones on a globe, because you require the sun to be 90 degrees overhead. Time zones are a flat Earth concept.
Yeah, that's correct. Elevation angles to the sun and to Polaris. So the sun's position, the GP of the sun over the head, it will be 12 noon always, somewhere.
If you look at their international dateline, you can go 11 hours plus Greenwich Mean Time, and you're east of Australia, right beside the national dateline. You cannot get minus 11 hours on the same calendar day, and that's only 22 of their 24 hours.
Damn. So sun zone is more fitting, because the sun's real. But if time's a
Yeah, but
concept, then how can you have a time zone? Concept
how
zone.
much time does time have?
Infinite.
Can Discord hear G
Well, the
Plus?
reports just. Sorry,
Yes.
after you, John.
Well, I don't know why you would argue with them about time zones not existing. they need a flat Earth, 4 time zones. Give it to them. Just concede. Yep, we got time zones. The sun's 90 degrees overhead. How do you get 90 degrees on a curved surface?
Yeah, I hear you.
You open Euclid Elements book 3 and you see how you get 90 degrees to a curve.
Not to a curve. Not to. You're
However,
red herring away from the point. It's from
geometry and you
from a curve.
are
You
far
don't know
apart
it.
from each other.
Not listen, Chaiki. Not to a curve, from a curve.
Same thing.
From and to are two different
Same
things.
Not
He
from and
knows,
to.
listen, guys,
So,
he knows what he's doing. He's not dumb.
From and to different things. They're not the same
Different
He
things.
knows he can't get it from. Right,
thing.
Jackie?
Where is that curved line anyway? Is it the ground or is it the freaking sky? Like, where's the actual fucking line?
line is a concept. There are no lines in nature.
What the hell?
Right. So the horizon is not a line.
We call it a line.
An optical phenomenon.
It's the curvaison. But level means curve, so it's the same thing. Going from, same thing, whatever.
Level doesn't mean curve.
Oh,
Level
well,
is
I was
Merriam-Webster
going to
says
ask,
so.
in which language?
That,
In which language the level
that
means curved? I wonder.
level means level.
But level means curved, according to Merriam-Webster. So
No.
Okay, so I have a further
Merriam-Webster's an idiot.
question then. So, what does it mean a level plane?
a curved plane.
A level plane?
Yeah.
I don't know. Where we saw level plane?
North, south, east, and west, and all the coordinates in the middle, they are from a horizontal plane. Cartesian system that we use for navigation. Horizontal vectors.
Horizontal what?
Vectors.
Definition
North, south, east,
of
west. Horizontal vectors. Description of a horizontal plane.
You mean horizontal vectors?
Yeah,
That
that's how we
direction.
navigate. Horizontal vectors. The Cartesian system is based on it. North, south, east, and west, they are horizontal vectors.
No, they're not.
Descriptive of a horizontal plane.
No, they're not horizontal.
leveled is
That's a hand
flat,
wave
even
dismissal. Do you want to
surface.
provide a citation
Flat,
to
even
a
surface.
rebuttal?
Flat, even
what?
surface. Flat, even surface. Flat, even surface. That's
he
level.
just said level. He just said level is not curved. Is that correct, Chucky?
I said level doesn't mean curve. Level
Correct.
is
Okay,
curve. However, level is level. It's not curve. When you say level, you
is
don't
not
mean
curved.
curve.
I agree.
You mean level.
That is very good. So, sea level does not curve. Good job. Welcome to Flat Earth.
You sure that is not flat?
circular reasoning.
It's not circular reasoning. I come with the references. I come with data.
No,
I come with
your
data.
references.
It's merely a
I
like
come
glitch
with
in the brainstem.
data.
He has a
No, you
glitch
don't.
in his
Empirical
brainstem. It's a
data.
glitch in the brainstem. It's a
Careful
glitch.
analysis.
No, false.
Yeah.
You
But
tell
the
me what I
spherical
do and what I don't do.
Yes,
The
you're
Thank you
telling me
very
what you
much.
do,
Thank
so
you
I'll tell
very
you what you
much
don't
for
do.
telling me. Are you welcome to go and watch
You're
show
welcome.
1934 from two and a half hours, and you will see how Nathan does not dare to look at the picture I show him. Does not
What's the
address the
picture?
argument. Does not address the arguments I made, but
You are
Okay, let me
stick
ask you
to
something.
some
You are
stupid
malfunctioning.
words and was going
let
in
me
his head.
You conceded.
And you
let
tell
me
me
ask
what
you
I do
something.
and what I don't do. You little
But let me
disgrace.
ask you something. Okay, stop acting like that. Can I ask you a question?
You can do whatever you want.
Okay, do you believe the Earth is a globe?
I don't live under belief system.
Sorry, I missed that. What did you say?
I don't have beliefs.
Okay, so do you know the Earth is a globe?
I know for sure it's not flat.
No, do you know the Earth is a globe?
Yeah.
Okay, how do you know?
Because I know it's not flat.
No,
And
like
if it's
start from the start. Like, how did you?
that's the start from the start. Don't tell me what to tell you.
How did you?
You asked the
How did you
question.
gain? How
You're
did you gain the
malfunctioning
knowledge?
again.
How
You're
did you gain the
malfunctioning
knowledge?
again.
Did you ask me a
Observe it
question?
yourself.
Did
How
you
was
ask
it
me a
shown to
question?
you? Yeah, I did. I asked you, how do you
Then
know
let me
the Earth is
answer
a
it.
globe?
Let me answer it.
So how do you know?
So I know for sure it's not flat.
No, you don't.
Again, you tell me what I know and what I don't know.
You can't know that. That's not the question. The question is, how do you know
and let me
the Earth is
answer.
a globe? No, listen, flat is not a shape. Okay, globe is a shape. You claim to know
I
that
know
the
what
Earth's
flat
shape.
is.
So don't tell me it's not flat. Tell me how you know it's a globe.
He was about to answer.
What?
Let him
Fuck
continue.
up. If you shut the fuck up, not interrupt me every time I
Answer
attempt
the
to answer
question.
you. And not interrupt every time I attempt to answer you. You will
didn't
hear it.
answer, so
Don't tell me I didn't answer because you didn't let me, you idiot.
you don't need to attempt to answer. All you need to do is answer.
Upside down Australian.
I'm
Listen up.
answering.
He was about to
So
answer,
shut
but
the
you
fuck
actually
up.
did stop him. Please let him
This
continue.
is the answer.
You telling me let him answer?
Well, he was
Did
gonna
you hear
go,
the
but
question I asked him?
he didn't
what's wrong
finish.
with it?
Let's just see what he says.
You
You
ask
him
a question. Let me answer. So I know it's not flat. And with a little extrapolation of what I know, and what I know it's not, for example, I know it's not a polygon because I don't see corners. I conclude that the change I see is smooth and Earth must be a sphere.
But that wasn't the
And that's
question.
one picture.
The question was, how do you know it's a globe? How do you know it's a globe? Not how do you know it's not flat? How do you know it's a globe?
Did you hear?
We know
I
a
said
fucking
sphere?
golf course. We know a golf course.
Do you listen when I talk? Do you listen when I talk, or do you live in your la-la land, keep dreaming on what I might have said?
How do you know it's a globe?
I said a sphere.
How do you know it's a sphere?
Globe. Yes.
How do you know?
Hold on a sec. I asked him, do you believe the Earth is a globe? He didn't want to answer that. He said he doesn't have beliefs. Then I said, okay, do you know the Earth is a globe? He said, yes. And then I asked him, how do you know it's a globe? Now he's already backtracking and saying, I said sphere. But either way, the question wasn't how do you know what it's not. The question was, how do you know it's a globe? You can't start with, oh, I know it's not this and I know it's not that. Flat is a descriptive term, globe being a shape.
But what he said,
so how do you know the shape?
Because he can't see any corners, he knows it's a globe. He's assuming the horizon is the circumference of a sphere. Well, if the horizon is the circumference of a sphere, it must conform to the geometry of said sphere. Now, the black swan is a problem for that.
Not exactly. If I know that level, if I find that level is not flat, is not straight lines, and I know this level goes all around.
Jackie, when do you ever
And I don't see
experience
corners.
a sphere?
It must be smooth and spherical.
Jackie, when have you ever experienced anything but flat? Just tell me when in your life.
But level is
you've
a
experienced
orientation. It's
anything
not a
other than
line.
flat.
An orientation.
What do you mean experience?
Knowledge, experience.
Hold on.
So
now,
belief,
he's got
different.
another problem if he's asserting level is curved, because you're stepping into the world of how do you get an angle from a curve, because your eye level and your what you think is your model. It's not, but what you think is your model. All measurements are taken from eye level, which is an angular measure. So
Oh,
if you're going to curve your baseline, where do you get an angle from?
What I get angles from? The gravity vector.
Oh, you don't.
No, no.
No.
So you're saying that you drop a plumb line vertically, but there is no horizontal to that vertical because level is curving, right?
There is a horizontal for every vertical. However, vertical is a physical thing. We can establish using instruments. The horizontal is something in our mind that we construct. Doesn't exist.
Like
So
the horizon, yeah?
So the horizon,
like the horizon, parallel to horizontal.
No, not parallel to horizontal.
He designed.
We build a square. We build instruments using the horizon as horizontal. That's how you make a square.
You maybe. Usually,
no, not
everyone
me.
uses a gravity vector.
Is documented in history. You drop a plumb line and you measure it against the horizon to adjust for your square. That's how it's done.
Everyone who uses a spirit level uses gravity.
You're wanting the horizon to be okay. But you don't want to know.
Globe.
You think you already know. You don't want to know. You just want to talk through it.
Well, listen, I asked him the reason I said, do you believe? He doesn't want to admit it's a belief. So he goes on to say how he knows. Then he can't demonstrate how he knows. He just goes on to tell us why he believes.
I did demonstrate it. I demonstrated it in show 1934. Go watch it.
That's not you demonstrating anything.
It doesn't know the analogy of the black swan.
Who was it then?
Chaka doesn't know the analogy of the black swan. You just need one proof that the horizon is not geometrical and is not the leading edge of a sphere to disprove all the other images that you might present. And by the way, today, there's many black swan images out there.
Yeah, George, did I claim the horizon is geometrical?
Yes.
When?
You are claiming it, yeah.
When you claim to know that the Earth was a globe.
I'm claiming
when you claim
it.
to know that the Earth was a you claim that the horizon was geometrical.
You're doing a very serious extrapolation now.
False.
So tell us, what is the horizon?
Is it apparent or geometrical?
No, let him speak his mind. Becky, what is the horizon?
The horizon is the separating line that below is water and above is sky. It appears to be sky.
You told us it's not a line. There is no lines in nature, so now it's a line. I would say to you that the horizon is the visible boundary where the sky appears to meet the land or the sea. Would you agree with that statement?
I said the separating line. What do you want me to call it?
I don't know, whatever you want to call it.
How would you describe it?
Yeah. The visible boundary where the sky appears to meet the land or the sea. Nothing more than that.
That's not a line, is it? Right? Because line has no physical existence. There's no
it's 0
size.
degrees, Chaiki.
It's only
sea
length.
levels. It's
not
0
something
degrees,
physical,
Chaiki.
something in our
sea
mind.
level.
Yeah, correct.
Chaiki.
Hold
it's
on.
not something physical. It moves with the weather. Correct, Chaiki.
It's not Earth curve then.
Not Earth curve, no.
I was talking about line.
Yeah, the horizon. It's not Earth curve then.
The horizon, you won't catch me say the horizon is Earth curve.
But it's not. You're saying it's not.
The horizon is the horizon. It's not Earth curve.
Would you agree when I say the horizon is not Earth curve? You agree?
Yeah.
You agree?
It's water below and air above.
Okay, welcome to Flat Earth.
You're welcome.
The horizon's not Earth curve. The horizon is not a limitation to your view that blocks boats and buildings. It's not the edge of a curve falling away from you 8 inches per mile squared. It's not a position that the sun can go behind. It's not Earth curve. That's right. That's the single claim that Earth is a sphere, eradicated from your belief system. Earth isn't a sphere, and the horizon's not Earth curve.
I never claimed it is.
Doesn't matter what you claim as one individual. There's an entire Western world religion that the horizon's Earth curve. Yeah?
Okay, invite the religion to your show and let's see what she or it has to say.
Yeah, it's just representatives of that religion. Some of them, like you, eventually realise that the horizon's not Earth curve, and then they can't take part in the heliocentric religion anymore, because the horizon being Earth curve is fundamental to the heliocentric religion. So the fact that you are no longer a proponent of the heliocentric religion, yeah, I invite everybody daily to come and present their views on the nature of Earth. The majority of them think it's a sphere, Chaiki, but it isn't. The horizon's not Earth curve.
I never was part of any religion.
Yeah, it's come from the church. It's come from the Roman Catholic Church.
I was a kid, maybe.
Heliocentrism's come from the church. Yeah?
I'm Jewish, so no.
I know what you are. I keep telling you. You as one man, it doesn't matter. Meanwhile, heliocentrism came from the Roman Catholic Church.
Good for them.
Not really. The Western world now believe the lie that they're on a spherical surface and that the horizon's Earth curve. It isn't. They're not. Earth's flat.
That's not flat.
Sure it is. That's how it's measured and navigated and built on.
I showed you a picture, it's not.
But this picture I've got on screen for my audience now. This one with
I don't know,
1,200 feet and below
I don't know.
horizontal, datum, sea level, all that stuff, yeah? So earlier you were claiming this is what you proved on the show you were on last. I've got it on screen for my audience. No Earth curve in this. There's a horizontal line for eye line, and there's a horizontal line for the line that the two mountains sit on. There's no Earth curve in this. None. It's just a flat Earth proof I've got in front of me. You think this proved Earth was a sphere or not flat? What about the two flat lines? The one that represents eye level, that would be level, and
I
surface
wasn't
level.
trying to.
The one that
prove
you've got
Earth is a
marked as
sphere.
below horizontal, as you decide that it's your turn to interrupt me. I've listened to your shite for the last
Yeah.
15, 20 minutes.
Who's telling you that?
It's not your turn to interrupt me, Chaiki. It's my opportunity to point out that when you told my audience earlier that you've been on an already proven Earth's not flat with this diagram, I get to point out to my audience, no, you didn't. This is two flat lines, two straight lines, level lines, not curved lines, not sphere Earth.
The lines are not parallel.
Sorry, on your diagram, they are.
I'll be back.
None. There's no two parallel lines.
Nobody mentioned parallel lines. The only parallel lines that you've got on your heliocentric model are the ones that go from the lights in the sky to the centre of Earth. You see, that poses a bit of a problem if you're going to try and triangulate with those parallel lines, because they'll never converge. So you're going to have triangulation achieved with parallel. My bad. Did I not listen to you waffling on non-stop, Chaiki? Do you think it's your turn to babble through me, summarising the situation in regards to Earth being flat? You actually think it is your turn to talk? No, it isn't. It's my turn to summarise how flat Earth is based on the navigation requirement for a flat baseline, and the lack of parallel lines negating that navigation style for a globe Earth belief with parallel lines. But nobody mentioned parallel lines. You did, for no reason. Meanwhile, Earth's navigated flat. The baseline's flat. Your diagram on screen now, as he interrupts again, is flat. Level.
Yes. I mentioned parallel lines. Me. Chike. My argument, I mention whatever I want to mention.
Well, that was fantastic. I mean, it's so clear and concise and convincing every single person in the audience that Earth's spherical. Because you make your points and your Chaiki. I'm Nathan Oakley. I prove Earth's flat by proving that the GP positions to stars that are used to navigate the ground require Earth to be flat. There's a 90-degree position below that star to your position where you measure it. The parallel light that is claimed on the globe isn't conducive with that whatsoever. They'll never converge if they're parallel. Yeah, you mentioned parallel. And I said, in the globe model, you've got parallel light reaching the ground. And then somehow converging at the centre of a sphere? Yeah, that doesn't work. So yeah, you mentioned parallel. I then ripped it to shreds based on the globe's nonsense using parallel light rays. And then I proved Earth's flat with my example of flat baselines 90 degrees below ground positions of stars to your position. Now, if there's 90 degrees below the ground position of a star, that's the point on the ground below it, to your position, that 90 proves the ground is flat. So I'm proving it's flat. Meanwhile, you're Chaiki. You'll make your evidence. Garbage. You didn't prove anything. There was a long protracted silence and a lot of interruptions where I prove Earth's flat, Chaiki. That's all you got.
Also, in his diagram, he has datum sea level being an angle that is not parallel to where the baseline, the mountains are measured from. That's hilarious. It's running at an angle up. I don't even know where he got that. That's the weirdest straw man I've ever seen in my life.
Straw man. I made an argument. How can I make a straw man? The argument is mine. The only one who can make straw man who
Are you
did
claiming a flat
were
Earth
you.
then? Are you claiming a flat Earth then, Chaiki? Is that what you're claiming?
I
That
claim
you're not a flat Earth?
non-flat Earth.
Oh, so it's like you're holding up an argument that we're not making so that you can burn that argument. It's almost like that, really.
Look.
Look, you straw man using fuckwit. You're a moron. And I've had enough of listening to you, moron. You didn't prove Earth isn't flat with your straw man. You didn't prove that level lines that are parallel with one another, marked as horizontal in your diagram, aren't level with your diagram with level marked horizontal. It makes you a moron, Chaiki, and I'm sick of listening to you. Sick of listening to all of your kind. You're all thick.
Okay, I'll say nothing.
Good.
That's really the best thing you can do for your religion is stay quiet because you are not a very good opponent.
Thank you for rating me.
Pleasure. You're like the Judas Iscariot of globe believers when you deny that the horizon's Earth curve, Chaiki. So well done. I'm sure they're all delighted with you while you deny the very premise of Earth curve belief, that is that the horizon would be Earth curve blocking boats and buildings. But according to you, no, it isn't. Yeah, we agree. Welcome to Flat Earth once again. Now you can keep quiet.
I don't know how you deny that the horizon circumference of Earth is caused by the circumference of Earth, and then still continue to believe that you can see the circumference from the sky, and that's the horizon that's into that. I don't see the disconnect.
I think Patrick was pleased with our response to his debate with Toon.
Are you going to finish? Are you going to finish the rest today? I hope, because that's what I was planning on joining in and listening to. Because there's a lot more still until he ends it.
Can do if you like. Can you post the link again? Do you know what time we got to?
Well, I was trying to. This is what you got to do when you stop a video early. I was saying, what does he know what time he stopped that? Because we got to get right back to that. So I'll I'll get the link up again. And then you could scrub forward until where you feel it was.
Okay.
Hello. Is my sound good?
Yes, very nice, very nice.
All right. Starting in 2 minutes.
Something like that.
The trailer isn't working, by the way.
They're not?
The trailer of the video, the pre-trailer, it's not working.
It stops working like the length of time before the video actually goes live. They'll stop presenting the trailer. So if the trailer's 2.5 minutes long and there's 2.5 minutes till the live show, you won't get it.
Oh, okay. Makes sense.
Got a new mouse on order. My mouse button started breaking. Minor issue. Don't worry, Neil.
All right, got your.
Is it as hot,
got your
by the way, in England as it is here? Like the temperature really shot up today incredibly.
Yeah, it did for us
got your link
yesterday.
up.
Yesterday it was boiling hot. Yeah, really, really hot.
Just out of nowhere, just whoop.
I really. So, to some
John-
people out there. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to ask you because I came in late and I caught what you were saying and what Chaiki was trying to say and what Nathan rounded off with. So, is he denying 90 degrees is the right angle?
Can't really do that. We've just excluded him from the conversation, 10th.
No, he said he wasn't going to talk anymore. And I'm asking John for his review of what because I missed it. I'm not talking to Chaiki. I'm asking John, is he in essence denying 90 degrees exists?
Well, John,
I would hate to speak for him. I would hate to speak for him.
Well, as you would hate, no, that is correct. Biological inference, yes.
Yeah, that's what I was hearing because he was saying the horizon is where the sky and the sea meet, and the sea is used at 0 degrees in all measurements. Sea level is at 0. Horizon is at 0.
Yep. 90 degrees to the baseline, below the star. It all indicates the same thing. Just a level, straight, flat line along the ground. Earth's flat. That's it.
Right. So when he invokes, by his own words, sea level being 0, which it must be, and then says he believes it's not flat, but it's a sphere, then he's got a curved line as a baseline, not a 0 line. But then you can't get the angle of 90. So you can't possibly do it. Wow. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm glad of the enthusiasm. Everyone's keen. It's all good. Warm up of the pre-show was all worth it. Anyway, any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the center of a presupposed spherical Earth?
Well, it's so hot right now. I'm gonna just assume that it's the molten iron core that's making it so hot all of a sudden, out of nowhere.
What molten iron core? I'm asking for evidence of it, not your assumption that that's the reason for the hot weather suddenly. What's the evidence for a molten iron core?
They took a sonogram on Earth.
P waves and S waves, right, predicted incorrectly how they would encounter the materials as they dug the Kola deep borehole. Right. They got it wrong. You're going to tell me that those exact same methodologies tell you that beyond the 8 miles they dug down for that hole that they got wrong in terms of the predictions of what they'd encounter is actually correct for 3,959 miles?
But they're gonna need a radius of Earth anyway. They need to have a measurement for a vertical drop, which they don't. So they're gonna need the radius.
Okay. Any evidence of Earth's radius?
Hey, on the P waves and S waves, since you could use that if Earth was curving to get that supposedly, how would you measure the angle of the return signal to derive the radius if Earth was curving?
I only like this as an example when someone brings it up after the fact. After we've moved on, this is timing at its essence by John. Perfect. So while I wouldn't be in a privileged position to say P waves and S waves actually prove a flat Earth, strictly speaking, that's true. But given that we're decrying the very nature of their measurement in the first instance as returning incorrect information, the methodology it uses in the first place requires Earth be flat because it's looking at return angles. So angles, you say? Yeah, that's not conducive with a curved surface. So no, you need a flat Earth to even claim this, even though it was wrong. Correct, John. Love it. But
right. Well, the geometry they apply afterwards might be the reason for the incorrect prediction, not to say the measurements are wrong.
Do you know that to be true? Are you just speculating?
That's just speculation, but it's a decent one.
It's an interesting speculation. I submit to you that, like with anything, all roads lead to a flat Earth. So if you were to look further into it, rather than finding how their declarations of sphereness led to the predictions being wrong, the chances are probably the reverse. And if you go into the documentation for how to do their, as Neil puts it, sonogram on Earth, then it would tell them something like NASA tell people. I mean, if NASA are telling you, treat Earth as, non-rotating, stationary, and flat. Well, I'm pretty sure that all fields, including anything that's dealing with the Earth, is going to take the same exact tact when they're realistically trying to actually ascertain how the lay of the land is. And in that instance, that's presumably what the good-natured people who are employing this technique are actually trying to achieve. So it would lead me to believe that now that'll just be another road that will actually lead to a flat Earth rather than a globe Earth insertion that led to the error. But, well, it's an interesting one. Maybe someone will look into the methodology and come back with, no, they do use a globe. In which case, why was it so wrong? Maybe it was because you used that.
No, we can answer it now. We don't have to wait. Celestial navigation, they tell you, because the celestial sphere, you got to assume the Earth is non-rotating. So there goes the rotation. So it's not a sphere rotating. And the angle is coming from the equatorial plane. Okay, so the globe burger. And so you need a flat Earth, not rotating, for celestial navigation to work. They even tell you this. And then if you go to the equatorial mount telescope, where it's the Earth is no longer the reference frame, but the stars are. So the sky map rather than the terrestrial map, they tell you got to assume it's one flat disk. And you get the angle from that. So they're telling you all the time. And then they tell you that whatever angle measurement you get with the sextant, you must subtract from 90 degrees. Well, 90 degrees is perpendicular, horizontal, and vertical. You get a little box there. So guess what? All you get is an acute angle somewhere in between.
So we're not contesting that. We're just saying, is the information wrong because they're inserting a globe, or is the methodology just imperfect?
No. It's a flat Earth, and everything we just said is true. They don't want a creator. They need it to be a Big Bang, which now they deny. They need to be an accident, chance, probability, which doesn't make any sense. Okay? They need that. So they have to change where you live. It cannot be designed. It cannot have any reference to Genesis chapter 1. They have to destroy that there's a God who did all this. Because then you can go on your atheistic way and do whatever you want. But if you bring in God, and you bring in flat Earth, you bring in firmament, you bring in gas pressure, oh my gosh. Maybe one day I got an answer to somebody.
I suggest the ball-believing audience take this cookie and eat it. By the time they're done eating it, they'll remember that they don't believe in any of this fake crap. Meanwhile, we're going to cover Patrick Gunnell's debate with Toon again today. So, hopefully someone will stick a link. I don't actually know how to retrieve it from this video, so if one of my moderators could stick a link to this video so Patrick gets some love over on Rumble, that would be really appreciated. But we're going to be covering his discussion again. So this is a part 2. I don't actually know where we got to yesterday, so I'm just going to take a stab in the dark guess and hope that I've got roughly close enough to where we were yesterday.
A lot of tips here. $5, Salty Zero. McToon uses Common Core math. I started this thinking that we would be nice to each other, and he was just.
Are we all cool with spinning past his super chats? No offense, Patrick.
Yeah, you gotta go back. You gotta go back.
Gotta go back.
Conspiracy 2 or 3.
Just a little bit. Go
1
back.
foot. And Mike is asking you to believe that friggin' refraction caused the horizon to be brought from 1.225 miles to past 9.41 miles.
Oh, that's too bad. The horizon cannot be displaced in relation to the horizon because of refraction.
I appreciate that Patrick's summarising the point. Maybe I'm jumping the gun because I don't know what the preamble was to this. But nevertheless, that's not the summary. Sorry, Patrick. Patrick was really generous. He sent me a PayPal donation, presumably as a thanks for covering. He didn't actually put a message on it, but I assume it's because he was pleased that we covered this particular debate yesterday. So hopefully he doesn't try and rescind that PayPal donation when he watches the after show from yesterday's show, because we were pretty critical of him. And, that may continue into this. Now, he's just, at this stage, seemingly summarising Toon's position in regards to Bogart refraction. Okay, when you hear Bogart refraction, that's the end of the discussion. It's the end of the argument, because the horizon, as discussed in the pre-show, isn't Earth curve anymore, as he used in his examples earlier. You have to watch part 1 to pick up on the examples we're talking about specifically, but Toon gave an example with the theodolite done by Jesse Kozowski, in which he infers the geometry of the sphere Earth, radius 3959, neglecting refraction, because he's calculating out the geometric drop between the two theodolites when neglecting perspective. There you go. Decent enough summary. Anyway, go on. Feel free.
Yeah, a question for you, Nathan. Have you actually asked Patrick or invited him on the show? I mean, I think he would be a pretty cool guy to have on. He's obviously skilled enough to go up against anti-flat earther and do a decent enough job.
Two things. Generally speaking, there are very, very few people I invite. Let me ask you this, Arwin. Did I invite you here today, Arwin?
Yes, of course you did.
When?
7 years ago?
Today.
Doesn't the invitation stand anymore?
Right. Patrick's in Master B as far as I'm aware. Right, so the door is always open to the main panel if Patrick wanted to come through it. Now, like in the same way, I have to make this disclaimer to various people who are like, oh, I'm sorry I wasn't here. It's like, there's no obligation for anybody on this show. While I'm very delighted that I've got a loyal panel that turn up regularly, no one's under any obligation. I mean, if they were, Anthony would have been fired a long time ago, let's be honest. But no one's under any obligation to be here. So the same is true. I'm nearly done with my point, for fuck's sake.
No, it was funny. I'm laughing.
Okay. Anyway, the same is true for the ballers. It works in both directions. Nobody's obliged to come. Doesn't matter if you're a baller or flat earther. In the same way, no one's twisting Dell's arm, or McToon's arm, or Patrick's arm, or anybody's arm. Everybody's welcome to join if they choose to do so. And it's nice when they do, and I'll thank them. Like Paula the other day. She came on the main panel because she's got a link to do so, and it was appropriate in that moment. I love listening to her talk about Mandela because it's such a breath of fresh air. Anyway, go and check out the show with Paula. It was ace. But yeah, there's no obligation. She didn't have to come in. And it almost made me uncomfortable. You're like, oh, come in, Paula, come in. Oh, she doesn't have to. If she wants to, she will. Good day, says Anaconda Malt Liquor. Say that one more time. Anaconda Malt Liquor. Thank you very much for the super chat. He says, good day, Nathan. I recommend the documentary called Heliosorcery at Earthen Vessels YouTube channel. Okay.
Yep, I've seen it.
Cool. Tell us what it is. Thank you for the super chat.
Well, it's a biblical response to the globe lie. I mean, it's a full video. My goodness, we've talked to the guy. So anyway, back to what we're doing today. Can you backtrack it a little bit so you could get the context to what Patrick was saying, and then we can finish the review? Keep you on track?
No.
See, there you go. No one forced me to come, and then when I come, no one listens.
Sounds to me like refraction does whatever the hell you want it to, Mike.
Sounds to me like you did not do any.
Yeah, he is labouring on that point. So, unfortunately for Patrick, it's like, while you might get frustrated with his diversion technique to say refraction, you say, so not Earth curve then. End of argument. So, yeah, he may want refraction to do whatever he wants, but what it's actually doing is destroying Earth curve geometry. That's what it's actually doing.
Right. Because, hey, the horizon's refracted. How did you get the radius value then that you're using in your formula?
Thank God Arwin actually identified with his own namesake paradox. Correct, Arwin. Right, the Arwinian paradox. If you have a refracted horizon, then you can no longer acquire a geometric limitation to assert the refraction value on. The refraction value is 7/6 of the Earth radius. Whereas the Earth radius measured, it's a geometric value. If you haven't got that geometric value because refraction, then you haven't got Earth curve anymore. It's the end of the argument. Now, I can't remember who it was that was discussing this about quantum rates. I think it might have been 10th Man Oh no, it was actually Patrick himself on this discussion when he was saying, maybe it wasn't. I can't remember who it was that said this, but it's not relevant. Why would Quantum Eraser use a very specific picture that had bendy cranes in it when there was plenty available that didn't? Why would he choose intentionally to use that? Well, it's just a blatant trap. He wants, or QE, when he devised the argument, wanted the opponents to say refraction, because their claim is a geometric earth curve obstruction, a hill called earth curve, physical in nature, getting in the way. So what's blocking the boat and building? Earth curve. No, it's just refraction, right? Yeah, the end of the argument, in essence.
Anything to control for that. So here's the problem, Patrick. You don't want to do anything, but I'm sharing a thing right now. I know where you got your number from. You want to show it?
What did you just say?
Okay.
All right, right there. Here it is. This is Andrew Thomas Young. Now, do you know who that is?
Yeah, I've heard of him. But what you have this habit of just peppering your opponent with repeated irrelevant questions. Who cares whether I know who Andrew Thomas Young is?
Well, because I know where you got this information from.
I derived 8 inches per mile squared myself.
This is 1.23 times the observer height in feet.
That's just solving for the other variable.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm glad that not many flat earthers can do that level of math, but this is where it came from, Patrick.
Prick.
What?
Yeah, this is such a shame, because in reality, he's won at this point, and he's getting frustrated with the rebuttal that debunks the claim, which is frustrating. Go on, was that Eli? Hello, by the way.
Hey, yeah, it sucks because that's my argument. Do you know who Andrew Thomas Young is? Because this is where you get most of your. This is where you guys are parroting from, and don't know it. That's my argument, man.
Isn't that just projection?
Okay, I see where you're focused, right? Patrick's objection is that his question is about whether or not Patrick knows who an individual is. And Patrick's objection that he wants focused on is that he's pulled out refraction out of his ass. That's the main objection. Now, while that may at surface level seem reasonable, but only if you labour the fact that you've lost your geometry when you claim that. Now, I don't know if Patrick's about to go on to that. Maybe Tenth will tell us, but is that where this is going, or does the frustration from Patrick continue into his win, which is what's happening?
I can't remember to that detail. This is just play it out, because he's going to post the article and say a few things about it. But I got a few things to say about it, because I've posted that article years ago.
You're not going to let me show. You're not going to let me show the information that debunks your claim. You don't want to show the truth about refraction.
You are the most insufferable.
No refraction. You see that? Patrick, it's no refraction. And here's your number, 1.23. He rounded to 3 digits times the observer's height in feet. And then Andrew Thomas Young goes on to say refraction considered simply, which is obviously not what's going on. And he gives some ways to do that. Then he goes variable gradients. He says, oh, look, there's a whole bunch of other things. And then nasty complications. And so we know without a doubt that that bendy crane over on the side comes under this category of nasty complications. So Patrick Gunnell's audience members, you may find Andrew Thomas Young's stuff, Distant Horizon, right there. Distance to the Horizon, Andrew Thomas Young. You Google that, you can find this is the part. This is where Patrick and his Papa Flurf stopped reading right here. And the refraction considered simply was ignored. Everything past that was ignored. Didn't read the nasty complications part of it, which is what we see. All right. Thank you for that.
Okay. So
what nasty complications is he talking
what
about?
Andrew Thomas Young does in this is says, without refraction, these would be the rules. And now I'm going to assume refraction based upon a radius of the Earth that we know to be true. It is a simple, circular reasoning.
Well, I mean, I measured the radius of the
Earth.
I measured the radius of the Earth, Patrick.
You can't measure the distance to the sun using the method that you described.
The distance to the sun isn't involved in the measurement.
Okay, look. Your tactics
Patrick, you just lied about how I did the distance to the sun or the radius of the Earth or the radius of the Earth measurement. You just lied about it. The distance to the sun isn't part of that. I mean, I know you. If you think about it, because you clearly do understand the math. You look at the Eratosthenes style. There's no distance to the sun that's included.
So the straw man, where he give a distance on a flat Earth, that doesn't actually apply to how you get the distance. You can't get the distance, obviously. What the hell's wrong with him?
Yeah, it's where
Is he retarded?
he held up his false dichotomy, and in this instance, he's now claiming that he's already proven that which has been debunked by Patrick. Now, I can understand Patrick's frustration here because he's already gone over this and debunked it, but like a typical baller, he's ignored what's been responded to and just asserted it. What? You're now lying about how I proved I'd measured Earth's radius. Like, he's so bombastic about it. Like, okay, that might work on the dumb audience if the audience is thick. Doesn't seem likely it's Patrick's audience in this instance. But in Toon's mind, he thinks that's the winning way to do it. Circle jerk your way around, ignore the responses in regards to his efforts to use a flat baseline to assert he's got the distance to the GP. He even conceded to Patrick that he was getting the GP position, not the sun distance position. We critiqued it based on its non-use of celestial navigation and triangulation on the ground for terrestrial items, as opposed to the stars, which he was exampling, in this case the sun. Well, all of those things have now been ignored entirely, haven't they? Because you're all lying about how I proved radius. What the hell? It's so disingenuous.
Nathan, if I may for a second, I think that McToon is basically going on a long-term tactic here where he's trying to wear out Patrick. Because at the beginning, Patrick won, McToon ignores it, of course, right? And now he's like reinserting more complications, more knots. But Patrick is just losing his patience. He's losing his energy. So he's like, he just doesn't want to really do it anymore. But McToon is not giving him the logical admission of defeat. So I hope this isn't going to get much worse.
No.
Because it feels like McToon's just wearing him out.
Yeah, by basically refusing any concession. So it doesn't matter that he's been led with his own words, and it doesn't matter that he's declared, well, I was just begging the question that Earth was a sphere when I used this method that measured a flat Earth with angles. All of that's ignored. In other words, the concession stops being a concession because he's decided to reassert that he's measured radius when he hasn't. So Toon's a liar. Well, I don't know who it was earlier that said, but this is projection. Yeah, because he's claiming that Patrick's lying about the methodology he used to measure radius. He didn't measure radius, did he? Right? What, Patrick's lying about it? No, he isn't.
No, he's just making it a complicated puzzle that's like you have to be super high-end focused to just catch him right in the moment. I mean, you, Nathan, you would not be caught flat-footed like this. But Patrick is obviously getting a bit tired, and so he has trouble basically catching on to McToon's crazy trickery.
The problem is you don't know the material in the beginning. You got to know your opponent's material in advance to win. Nathan called it earlier. If Earth curve is geometric and you say refraction, okay, well, welcome to flat Earth, because
game over.
It's game over. Now, Patrick didn't do that, but then McToon put up a slide from Andrew Thomas Young. So guess what? I've looked at this. We've looked at this. We see that there's several papers or articles he wrote about this on his site. And I believe the one that he's showing talks about dip without refraction and dip including refraction. So he kind of set it up for Patrick to kill him here, but Patrick didn't know this information. And what's the information? Well, just read the article, read the paper. What does it say? Well, it's 1.22 miles. What did Toon say? I know where you got that from, but you didn't account for variables. Yeah, but if you read the whole thing, Andrew Thomas Young said, if there was no atmosphere, it's 1.22. But if there is atmosphere, it's 1.32. What's Hill House? What's the platforms at? 6 and 9 miles?
Yeah, you need
So
infinite
you go from one. I mean, if you go into it, Andrew Thomas Young just debunked Toon's argument with refraction.
Meanwhile, once you're into the begging the question that you can allow for refraction, it excludes the fact that you've acknowledged the game over situation you've found yourself at when they say refraction. The moment they say refraction, it's the end of the argument. It's not Earth curve then. It's not a geometric limitation. It's not the hill physically getting in the way of the boat or building then. So the horizon that we're looking at is a non-geometric, non-hill refracted position. Okay, so it's not Earth curve. Oh, it's refracted Earth curve. You know, refracted Earth curve, that's not a physical hill in your maths blocking the boat. Refraction doesn't block boats.
That's why I started by saying it should have ended right there. But at the same time, because it's doublespeak, Andrew Thomas Young says all of his refraction studies were done on a plane. But Earth isn't flat, so we must take geometric considerations. So he converts it into a thought experiment. Geometric horizon is a thought experiment. It doesn't exist.
That's Earth curve.
But
It doesn't exist.
But he uses horizontal density gradients with or horizontal density layers. Where does Andrew Thomas Young get horizontal on a sphere?
He didn't. He needs a flat Earth. Like all roads, even his density gradient that he's going to later assert with a bait and switch that it's 7/6 of an Earth curve radius, his actual studies were all done with respect to a flat Earth.
Doublespeak. There is no such thing as a geometric horizon. It's a thought experiment.
Multiple people. We got the same number every single time. I went over one of them. I got interrupted while I was talking about it. But I can tell you,
breathtaking that you would ever complain about being interrupted.
Yeah. All right. So the radius of the Earth is not assumed. If you say it's assumed, that's a lie, Patrick. Don't lie.
You said it was assumed. Patrick led you to say specifically that it was assumed. So that'll get trimmed out as well with you saying it's never assumed. And then having been led to say you assumed it in the example you gave, whereas Aristophanes assumed it.
Just parrot over and over. And he lied to you. You are repeating his lies, Patrick, when you ignore refraction, when you talk black swan. Oh, there's no refraction there.
If you're getting refraction and ignoring the black swan, it means that you're ignoring the fact that you haven't got a geometric horizon to get the R value to base the refraction on. And again, maybe this is why you've gone to Patrick rather than us. We'll see.
Hey, that's not a good observation.
Yeah, go ahead.
The theme, one of the themes of this week is we touched on was the simplicity of arguments, like, and whether or not we are like, the more advanced course or somewhere someone should come first, which I do believe they should come here first because you need to focus more on how you come to solving problems. But I mean, isn't it easier for like a normie to hear McToon say, "Oh, that's without refraction," and then a snappy, response would be, "Oh, what you mean with refraction with an added point too?" Like, wouldn't that just what would he say if that was the response?
I don't know.
Also,
I have no idea.
add
But thank you for speculating there, Eli. Go ahead, Righteous.
Just showing Minecraft. Do you want to show the show on YouTube or Minecraft?
Yeah, I was just going to say.
I want to show Minecraft. Get lost.
Okay.
So Nathan, it's real simple. When they say refraction, you say, "Welcome to flat Earth." They say, "What do you mean?" Well, then now refraction is blocking the bottoms of boats and buildings, not Earth curve.
Exactly. And further to that, Arwin's already covered it, the Arwinian paradox. You say refraction. Your refraction is 7/6 of a radius value. Where'd you get your radius? Well, Al-Biruni and a dip measurement to the geometric horizon, the same geometry Toon claimed to prove earlier. Yeah? It's the same exact geometry. Well, if you can't acquire that because of, quote, refraction, it is game over. Then the horizon is not Earth curve.
Well, the horizon is definitely not below sea level. So sea level meets the sky to form the horizon. Yeah, they lost there. They don't really have to go too much further.
You have made a career out of getting super angry and calling people liars.
It's a hobby, but you have lied. Well, I've documented your lies, Patrick. Your audience saw you lie. So
No,
members of Patrick's Rumble audience, be aware.
Pause.
Really tedious.
Pause. No. This is a good learning lesson. McToon has lost so bad that now he's got to go into ad hom mode and attack Patrick's audience. Listen to how carefully he's doing this in order to take the light off of his lies.
That would be the thing that a truther would do, which I have evidence tells me that Patrick Gunnels is not a truther.
They attack the man. Basically, this is a glorified ad hominem attack. This is.
Glad you accept that.
I don't accept anything. You're a disreputable person. Okay, I'm really sorry about that, guys. Wow, that was shocking. So I think that the proper move with a creature like that is to move on. That's not anything remotely resembling a good faith discussion.
I wouldn't mind hearing Patrick's summary if you don't mind.
Barking thing these people do when they are confronted with something that's absolutely dispositive. I don't really think there's any way to get around what the tactics are. Just start screaming in the face of that person, and I don't know how to deal with that kind of tactic. I suppose the only way to deal with somebody like that who just constantly interrupts and just insults and gets triggered with everything that you say, I think the only approach is to have a moderator and have time limits. I thought that after I watched his debate with Jeranism, he was civil. I thought that he was going to allow people to speak. He did not allow me to speak. It was boorish, stupid. But just to finish it up, what he basically does is when I make the assertion based upon geometric reality that a sphere of said radius could have a horizon no more distant. The horizon can be no more than, not no less than, no more than 1.225 miles times the square root of the observer's height in feet. So the first thing he does is start peppering me with, how do you know that? How do you know that? How do you know that? And then he basically tacitly concedes it and says, but refraction. Now, how do we know it's refraction? I'll tell you how we know it's refraction, because otherwise I wouldn't be able to assert that the radius is 3,959 English statute miles.
That part, right?
In the future.
Yeah, in the summary, which I'm glad he did for his audience.
To handle that without having somebody putting a stop to that kind of behavior. I was trying to remain civil. There was no way to do it.
I would like to apologize to Patrick. I would like to apologize for Patrick in the after show. I got frustrated with how he was handling Toon, where he could actually control him because it was his show. That, because when I went to McToon, I faced the same thing he did, but I had no control over the situation. I was just, I was 2 against 1. But I shouldn't have come off as harsh as I did in my critique.
Like I said yesterday, I thought he'd done a fantastic job. He allowed McToon's finish there was fantastic for the neutral to hear. Yeah, you haven't got to browbeat him. You just got to let him express his argument, or let him demonstrate what he has to resort to when it's clear he doesn't have an argument and he's contradicting himself. I thought Patrick's manners and civility and the way he ended it, instead of engaging with McToon on his level, will be very powerful for the audience. And that's who we're speaking to. We don't want an admission from McToon. We just want the audience to recognise
Yeah, I mean, I think Patrick did an exceptionally good job, and you got to remember that this isn't what Patrick does, right? So, he did a good job. He's not debating this subject day in, day out, and in terms of handling Toon, he's no different to any other baller in that regard. You know, check out the pre-show with Chaiki; they all do the same thing in that regard: filibuster and browbeat. Well, okay, that might be successful for some people, but for the most part, most general normies, normal people, are reasonable and civil. Yeah, they're not like that. They're not bullies. Now, for him to feel like he may have won his argument or won in giving his ad hom across, that's Toon, you know, maybe him and his also quite aggressive audience will praise him for it. But as was just argued by Adam, I think for your average person, that is not the case. That is not what that won't leave people with a good taste in their mouth based on Toon's performance. Not to mention the fact that Patrick, that is, absolutely annihilated him on all of his arguments. Did he get him to say, okay, I've conceded, so I won't go back to that argument and circle jerk you back around and then call you a liar? And of course he's going to do that. He's a baller. So, yeah, it didn't matter that he got the concessions. It didn't matter that he got him to say he'd assumed Earth was a sphere in his example claiming to prove radius. He's just going to later on in the show, half an hour later, tell the audience that his opponent's a bloody liar, which he did, claim that Patrick's a liar. Why? Well, because he's just lied about how I proved Earth's radius was measured. No, you assumed it. Well, what else have you got to say about it, Toon? No one ever has to assume Earth's radius or Earth's sphericity. Yeah, he's already disclaimed on the live show to an audience there and then that he assumed it because Patrick took him there. And you can't control for those things. Patrick can't control for a shyster, which is what he's dealing with. A total shyster.
Nathan, the reason Toon went off at the end the way he did was because since they can't prove what they got, they make mistakes. And Patrick got him on the big one. When Toon said to Patrick about the Black Swan, about the 3959 radius, that's a straw man. The minute Toon realized what he said, he went into this mode. In my opinion, he was cooked by his own lips. He called the claims of his globe a straw man.
Yeah, and logically they all seem to end up there, don't they? You know, when they're trying to defend it in the way that Toon's tried to defend it. What do you end up doing? Telling your opponent that the claim that Earth has a radius of 3959 miles is in fact a straw man. Oh, okay, well, if it's a straw man, then we would be in agreement. We don't think Earth's a sphere. You know, it's a stupid argument. Not that we're claiming it on your behalf. You claim it in your Earth curve maths, but now you obviously don't think that's the case. You think it's a straw man position to your reality. Yeah, in that respect, we'd agree. Is there anything more we need? It's only about an hour into this hour and a half video. There's got to be 30 minutes more stuff, right?
No, what happens is Dave Weiss is in chat, then Dave Weiss comes and talks and says this is happening, and then tells everyone to go watch Taboo Conspiracies 3 new videos, which I think you ought to do that today, is show one of those videos. So no, it's over at this point.
Or okay.
The debate.
Has Dave literally got nothing interesting to say?
No.
Well, when I say globers, I'm talking about normal people that weren't taught to use their God-given common sense and their brains. And when you say, well, you know, the Earth is spinning, the airplane's flying over, and the stars are going to appear, some people just can't handle that. That's too much for their brains because they're only memorizers and regurgitators, like we were all, you know, taught to be. But us, your audience, we've learned to use our brains and use our God-given common sense. This is simple. Google Earth knows what a ball should look like. Mm-hmm. Reality shows something different.
Yeah. Dave, what about these freaking tactics? It's just
no. Listen, someone in the audience said McToon is a dummy. McToon is not a dummy. No, he's a liar and a deceiver. Yeah. Okay, he is a complete. And so now is he paid? I don't know. I don't know. I say paid or possessed. It's the same thing. They have the same mission. Whether you're paid, because if you
hold up, you saying that your boy Jaron just had a civil discussion with someone that you know is a liar and a deceiver, and You don't know if he's paid or not, but your boy's over there having a civil discussion with him.
Jaren's not Dave's boy, right? Number one. Number two, Dave's not Jaren, is he? Let's not do this.
I don't know.
Right, in the last 24 hours, I've tried to. I'm making efforts, as much as it's hard for me to do so when I feel wronged, to turn what is going to be an inevitable self-destruction of flat Earth with things like this into a positive reuniting of people who have lost their way in this community.
Hey, Nathan.
Stop
hey,
it.
Nathan. Hey, Nathan.
What?
Good morning.
Hold on. I've got an objection from 10th, and we'll get to you, whoever's saying.
Yeah, stop it.
All right.
And I say this with all respect, that there is no self-destruction of flat Earth if you call out Jaren or Dave Weiss or Feast of Nonsense. There is no destruction, self or otherwise. Truth is what we're after. Whatever body count there is, don't worry about that. Just stay the course. Let's admit when we're wrong. Let's keep the truth. There is no flat Earth community that Jaren runs. Okay, he's a human being just like me. And I make mistakes. I need to be called out on it. He makes mistakes. He needs to be called on it. And that's where we're at. And so you trying to be the United Nations of flat Earth ain't going to work, buddy.
Okay.
It ain't going to work.
Remember, but there's no need, is there, to be a dick if we're going to appraise this approach. There's no need to be antagonistic and a dick. Yeah, I don't feel the need.
Yeah, John. Yeah, there's no need to be antagonistic, John. What's your problem, John?
Hey, Nathan, if I could interject.
Adam's got his 2 cents in. I'm sorry, APOC. We will get to you, APOC, I promise.
You just call me a dick. Let me at least defend
Let's just get some order from these three. Hold on. We've got Adam, then Chocolate. Hello. Let's get some order. Adam, then was it Eli, and then John.
First of all, John, if you've just taken that personally, it wasn't to you. I was referring to anybody. There's no need to be dicks and go out there attacking fellow flat earthers and making those sorts of accusations, right? If you want to take it personally, fine. In that instance, maybe I am referring to you, right? And I'll let you address that if you're offended. Shouldn't be.
Yes, I would like
what
to
I would say, and the point I wanted to make is we should respond to things as they are. Now, I just listened to David Weiss there, and if I ignore history or any emotions I've got, I'd like to congratulate Dave on his appraisal of Toon there. It was considered. He didn't go too far. He didn't call him a paid shill. He made that distinction that I would make. It's very odd. He's either paid or possessed, and a nice distinction for the listener to view. If we're going to invest our energies, invest them in decent critique, not tittle tattle.
My sentiment exactly, but APOC's in the sidelines. Eli's got something to say. John obviously wants to respond. Go ahead, Eli.
Yeah.
Or was it Chocolate?
Well, it was me. Let's just not cut each other off. I do think that's because it takes like 5-10 minutes to like get on track. It can get hot, especially right now around the subject, and we don't want people listening in to get things misconstrued, what we're saying about other flat earthers, what we're not saying. So let's just try to be as charitable to each other as we can, please.
Indeed. Right. John. Then APOC.
Wow.
Now,
I agree.
let me go ahead and just say, first of all, I'm not upset.
I'm sorry, John. You're going to have to overcome the Neil interruption, then go ahead.
Neil doesn't interrupt anyone. I love you know.
Ever. No one's ever been horrible to him about it either.
Don't patronize Neil right now. Come on, man.
I'm taking notes.
Okay, let's just stop. Everyone stop. Thanks for causing this. Neil, thank you so much.
Notes.
Thank you. Okay, John, try once again.
Okay, me taking the time to point out that one of David Weiss's known, he's on a show with him. He's been on a show with him quite a bit, Jaren. Took the time to say that they had a civilized debate that went so well, right? With this person that he just called either a liar or a demon, okay? Me pointing that out has nothing to do with my personal feelings, has nothing to do with me being upset or angry. It is me pointing out some hypocrisy. Now, you can get upset about that and say that I'm trying to be unfair to flat earthers if you want and call me a dick. But that's just not the case. I'm pointing out hypocrisy. If you don't like it, I'm sorry.
No, fair enough. Okay, everyone else stop.
I need to talk.
Sorry, D Rose, you're going to have to get back in the queue after APOC. He's been waiting for an eternity. Go ahead.
Yeah. Hey, good morning, guys. Everybody.
Morning.
Last night in our Asylum YouTube, I had an interview with Jaron, and I had just so happened to had listened to you yesterday morning. I've been kind of away for Discord for a little bit, but there was this interview to have with Jaron, and I didn't want that opportunity to be passed, so I came back onto Discord, and I brought up that you had offered an olive branch in your earlier yesterday morning's broadcast or whatnot, and he's interested if you are next Thursday, if you would.
Oh yeah.
We could all come together again and you and him talk. He was interested in that.
Fantastic.
I heard you say, can someone go tell him? So I told him. And
Perfect.
if we can I can message you on the side, outside of the show or whatnot. Try to get your information so that way we can set that up at given a time, because I know you're in UK, right? Or Europe somewhere, right?
No, I actually dropped Jaron a line directly anyway, but I'm sure he'll respond to me. As I said yesterday, we've got plenty of lines of communication, he and I. So that isn't the issue. Communication between he and I is not an issue. It's a loggerhead position with regards to science, which I feel can be resolved. If he's receptive, which is essentially what I've asked him in my message, are you receptive to talk about science? If so, let me know. I think it's beneficial to everybody. That's basically the essence of my message to Jaron. Well, great. Fantastic. All the naysayers, not a customer of ours, huh? Yeah, he is. You're wrong. Let me hear it.
Would you be interested in getting on the show, though?
I don't care. I just want to appeal to Jaron to understand what science is. So that A, stop being called a scammer, and B, he can progress our community, which we all love, don't we, guys? We all love this community.
I will have no part of this. Count me out.
My bad. Sorry, I was just halfway through giving you your invitation to be right next to me there, Neil. Sorry. So I'll scrap that then.
Can I come? I'd like to be in the queue
not.
eventually.
I definitely want to witness this.
I'm out.
Okay,
Can I
fine.
come?
Can the man who wanted a war with them come? I'm thinking no.
Yeah,
I
mean, on the show, on the show, no problem. Whoever wants to join in on the conversation, that's fine. We do it through StreamYard, and we just stream it to our YouTube live through our Asylum Discord. So yeah, whoever wants to come is more than welcome. I just want to let you know though, he was interested next Thursday if you would be interested to have a discussion.
Fabulous. Yes, most definitely.
I'll be there. That'll be a great.
Great.
That'll be a great idea. I think it's going to be epic. I can't wait. And I would say this. Remember we said before, at the end of the day, like Tim said, it's about truth versus falsehoods. The best way is the way Nathan's saying. If put out the olive branch and everybody weed out all of the fallacies, all of the farces, the false claims, all of the lies, all of the misconceptions, everything, and then that'll strengthen the FE community.
Neil, can I say? I've been waiting.
Okay, go on, 10th, then I'll give a detached example. Go ahead.
Yeah. I just want to say that what John said, refractive curvature, 100% back in. Number two, no one, including John or I, don't want conversation to keep happening and obstacles moved out of the way, discussions, disagreements to be vetted. We want this. We want you to talk to Jaron. I'm not against you trying to make peace, but at what cost? Okay, well, if truth is not at all minimized, talk as much as you want, because that's all I'm saying. Please don't pay John and me, and I speak for John because I heard what he said, but I heard how he got misreferenced. He's just reporting, just like we are reporting. And if you can have a conversation and truth could run you and Jaron, hey, I'm all in. But once you tell him the truth and he wants to go with the opposite of that, okay, then what do we do? Do we just sit on the side and say, hey, he's a flat earther, but he's on the feast of nonsense, but we're not going to talk about it anymore because we want peace? No, we're just going to call it what it is and say, we've tried. We're trying to get together, but hopefully maybe this Thursday, it can all work out.
Sure. I mean, in terms of what I want out of this, right, I want to stop concerning myself with Dave Weiss, Jaron, used to be Bob, right? I don't want to worry about it. You know, when I brag about how I don't lose sleep over the nature of Earth, well, I do lose sleep over the loss of friendship with people who are in our community. I've spent significant time with in years gone by, doing what we do. We've refined what we do, and we've subsequently been called scums for it. I don't know how else to summarise the situation, but I do lose sleep over that. And I don't want
Is your community include ether and denial of the scientific method?
No.
Well, that's after Eli. Could I please speak on that?
Oh, thank you, Adam.
I'm going to
I'm going to lose my mind.
Thank you, Adam. I just wanted to say to Neil, as hard as this is, and I know it is, we know from a biblical standpoint what we must do.
And what's that, Eli?
The problem is, Eli, he's not want no part of it.
They didn't have yard arms in the Bible.
Mark my words. Let me get this out.
Imagine Jesus was like, I don't want no part of this.
No. That's what I'm saying. Mark my words, how this is going to turn out.
Which is what, Neil?
Well, I messaged you, Nathan, nonetheless.
Occasionally, right? I get the sentiment that Neil actually does have something he wants to say, right? Now, he started, but he hasn't actually told us. Well, okay, I'll bite. Well, how will it work out, Neil?
You don't want to be nowhere near that side with the road they're going down. Trust me. I got the feeling in my gut. They are going to look so foolish, and you want to be involved in that? Not me.
Okay, two things to address that. Okay, number one, it didn't address my question. But aside from that, look stupid. Neil, we are considered to be the dumbest people out there in society. So what you're saying is we can go below that? Looking stupid? I don't care. I see the benefits automatically outweighing that because there isn't any negatives, because what you're saying is we'll be seen as stupid. All right.
You think
shocking.
This is a small corner still, right?
Yeah.
You still think this is a little small corner? You're wrong.
That's not what he's saying, Nathan. What he's saying is when you called out Dell on Earth moving up, why'd you do that?
This is nonsense.
Okay, so now what Neil is saying, as he sees, correct me if I'm wrong, Neil, you're saying that, okay, so we get together and solve this issue about the scientific method and him calling us scammers and all this. Let's say we put that aside. I'm happy. I want that. But what Neil is saying is that they espouse so many feasts of nonsense things that down the road, we're going to be associated with that.
We are anyway by stereotyping fallacy.
That's the specific point I want to address. Okay, there's an accusation that by offering an olive branch, being Christian in your viewpoint of how you treat people, that in some way we would abandon our principles, and in some way engaging in conversation we're prepared to. No, we're trying to fix it for the betterment of the community, because we're all on the same side and we're very, very much outnumbered. So we're trying to, can we stop this petty infighting and get somewhere? Now, if at the end of that, we decide to part and Jaron still decries the scientific method and doesn't see its value, then so be it. But I don't think there's any risk of us coming out the other side and us going, you know what, we'll ignore all that. We'll just turn a blind eye to ether. We'll not espouse the virtues of the scientific method anymore because we don't want to upset Jaron. That seems to be, or we might be associated with Jaron. We are associated with Jaron. This is why we're trying to fix it. And that's, to me, the purpose of expending energy in this direction right now.
I want to correct that. No. That's not what. Hold on. just want to address that last point. No, it's not because I feel, although I did say that to Neil, we are automatically tarred with the same brush, but that isn't my motivation. It's threefold, one of which is entirely self-motivated, right? I want to do better on YouTube. If I'm being called a scammer by a bigger YouTube in my own community, that's going to be detrimental. Therefore, sorting this out will be to my benefit. Right, so it's to my benefit. Number two, it is to, more importantly than anything else, as has already been discussed, to the community's benefit. Why? Well, because if there's a contradiction in terms of what science is, and we are basically, with one hand tied behind our back, undoing every argument that comes our way in that regard by having a good, clear understanding of science, then there's clearly a benefit to the community also having that knowledge, rather than being under the impression that it's wrong or being permeated into the community by scammers. So there's a community benefit, number two. Number three, there's a benefit to Jaren, which was only highlighted as a direct result, thank God, to Patrick, literally within a few weeks doing the same debate with Toon, but with a very, very different outcome. Why? Well, there was one main key difference. Yeah, Patrick does know his fallacies pretty well. I've got to give it to him. But he knew what science was. He had him over a barrel when it came to him claiming he got hypothesis, when strawmanning flat earth positions and calling them a hypothesis, claiming he got an experiment. He had one question posed to him by Patrick. One. What's your phenomena? That's all he asked. And then Toon's then got his hand on his hip, fuming mad, lecturing him about the best books on science. One question. Yeah, that would benefit Jaren if he had the same tools in his arsenal, the same sword, or whatever you want to call it by metaphor, arrow in his quiver, whatever you want to call it. If he had that, he would have annihilated Toon. So it will benefit Jaren. So it will benefit me, hopefully growing my channel. It'll benefit the community. They'll understand how to slay all arguments. Because I don't doubt out in the real world, while we might be at the tip of the spear, your average Flat Earth audience member who's watching this show will probably go out into the world, say, yeah, Earth's flat, and the response they will actually get will be, the whole body of science proves we're on a sphere, you stupid muppet. Flat Earth idiot. That is literally what they'll get out in the real world. The fact that we've stamped it out in our little corner doesn't mean that that is not the absolute way that the thing is argued against by your average normie. Science proves we're on a globe, Dumbo. That is the response. You go out to the real world and tell someone Earth's flat and see what they say to you. They'll tell you you're thick, number one. They'll tell you that don't you understand science, number two. Then they'll tell you that space is real and we've been to the moon, implying that they have been to the moon with the royal we. Now, none of it's true. Yeah, we can stamp all of it out, but the main focus, where this began, the winning bit, starts with understanding what they use in their arsenal to lie to you and convince you that what they've got, which is not true, is true. They do it with science every time. Toon did it with science. He just succeeded with Jaren and failed with Patrick. So, like I say, it'll benefit me, it'll benefit the community, it'll benefit Jaren if we, collectively, can get the community and Jaren to understand what science is, how it's benefited humanity, and more importantly than anything in this subject matter, how that empiricism has been hijacked to convince you that lies have got empiricism attached to them, with just a few choice words. Toon chose experiment. As soon as he said that, everybody in the audience has their ears pricked up. Oh, you've got some empirical evidence for this, have you? No, he hasn't. But that word is magic, because everybody knows somehow, because they were taught it, that science is empirical. Yeah?
Well, is this deja vu, Nathan? Is this deja vu? Because let me tell you something. What you just said, 100% agree. What Adam said, 100% agree. We've been doing what you're planning to do for the last 2+ years. Okay? Now, if next Thursday pulls it off one final time and it works, I'm happy. Okay. But it isn't as if you haven't been doing this already.
That's what we're going to do.
So hang on. Let me round it out. So now you're using something that validates what you've been saying. Jaren and Toon's interview contrasted to Toon and Patrick's interview. Now you have some obvious contrast of how it went with Patrick and how Jaron was flat-footed with Toon. Okay? So now you're going to bring that up and say, see, this is the point for the last 2 years. You called me a scammer. You said that people were living in my crotch that were in my panel. You've said a lot of things. Can we get rid of all that? And for the sake of the flat earth community, make peace, and you can actually understand the power of this argument? I'm all for it. I can't wait till Thursday.
But you know that ain't gonna happen because they're a bunch of etherites. They have an agenda. See, the problem is, Nathan, you don't have an agenda. They do. You are way better than Jaron. I don't know why you want to attach yourself to his hip. He should be attaching himself to your hip.
Nathan does have an agenda.
I want everyone to like, comment, share, subscribe, join as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, smash the super chat, hit me up on PayPal, and all that good stuff.
I would like to
wait.
Is there a reason why I'm not by Jaron or why I'm not at Flowbusters?
I was next.
Oh,
After
shit,
Eli,
everybody.
let me go.
Go ahead, Eli. I'm done.
I've spoken about the definition of bigotry. I've spoken about hypocrisy. And so the thing that I want us to understand is it's not just Nathan. You know how many people came and left this side? You know how many people are still here that have said things that I guess 10th would say Nathan has never said or done? Because there have been instances where some of us have speculated that they aren't real people, that they are agents, that they are this, they are that, things that might have inflamed them that we haven't given a second thought. I know I've done it. So is anyone going to tell me that I'm a liar? So we got to keep, yes, it has been done a little bit before the whole Jaron fiasco, especially when we're thinking, well, we have the best arguments there are. What's wrong
just
with this
to interrupt
clown?
you, Eli. I'm really sorry. I just express to the audience that the expression of guilt that Eli is doing now does not necessarily reflect on the rest of the Flat Earth debate panel. You go ahead, Eli.
This is true. So I'm just saying, if you resonate with what I'm saying, have some humility. If you played a small part in that, and just go, okay, I'll do better in the future.
You do that. You shill naming son of a gun.
Refracted curvature's been waiting.
Well, I want to back you up, 10th there, because I think that's the distinction I was hearing you mitigate for Nathan for. And yes, I think maybe I've been a dick in the past. I'm struggling to remember where I've done it in Flat Earth to people. But what I would say is I did stand up after Jaron's stuff and put it back at him and question his motivation. I didn't make a false accusation, but I did put it back to him. And that, I think, is what I'm hearing from you with regards to how you're perceiving Nathan's actions post stuff. And I probably agree with that. And that's the distinct. You can only control your own behaviour. And sometimes you're given opportunities. And you'd be a fool not to take opportunities. Yeah? An opportunity to be a good and better man, only an idiot would not take that, in my opinion.
I agree.
And then it's up to, as I've said with regards to Toon and stuff, and because remember who we're appealing to. We're not trying to be bezies with Jaron. It doesn't really matter. But by your actions, you'll be judged, okay? And let the audience judge. And because I've got nothing to be afraid of. And I'm not going to decry the scientific method to be friends with somebody. But I'm also not going to miss an opportunity.
No, yeah, listen, I want to respond to what you got it right, Adam. That's exactly right. But here's the thing. We know we're not going to give up what we've been saying for years because we never vacillated from it. I mean, for us to change what we're doing would mean to say the last so many years we said stuff that we really didn't believe or know to be true. Okay, so we're not going to do that. But we didn't go, and let me finish, please. We didn't go and stab someone in the back about what they were saying publicly by calling them scammers. We wanted to talk about it. We wanted to have a discourse, sometimes hot, sometimes mediocre hot, sometimes civil. It all was happening in the last few years. And then they like, I remember when Whitson came on the show and wanted to talk about Ether, and then he was, it was calm until he made claims. And then when he was challenged on the claims, it wasn't calm anymore. So it was like, wait a minute, that's never going to change. So if that's never going to change, and we're not going to change what we've been doing for the last so many years with our housekeeping questions, et cetera, when Nathan goes on Thursday and talks to Jaron, this is what has to be addressed. Why did you feel comfortable publicly stabbing your fellow flat earthers in the back by calling us scammers? What kind of person does that? Okay, that's number one. Okay, now if Jaron says, let me finish. If Jaron says, you know what, I was hot, I regretted I would accept that if he said that. But he's got to say that, because really, you put some knife holes in us. And unless you say that was done in an emotional state where you now know you were wrong, there can be no resolving of anything, because that has to be resolved, because now we're going to work together. And I'm wondering, is it going to do it again? No, I can't have that doubt anymore.
Well, I did preface it. I was like, no, as much as we have reached out, appealed to their better understanding of science, etc., in that regard, no, there would have to be a retraction from him first.
No, I know, Nathan, but allow me to finish. So my whole point is, I am for peace. I am for unity always. As a Christian, we're told to forgive people unlimited amount. So 70 times 7, really? 490 times? No, as many times as you can. We pass the same forgiveness we received from God as sinners as lavishly as we can to fellow sinners who sin against us. I'm all for that, okay? I'm not against that. I can't be a Christian and say otherwise, okay? That's not what I'm talking about, though. When Jesus was meeting with the false religious leaders, he spoke to them differently than the people they were fooling with their false teaching. He called them child of the devil, whitewashed sepulchres. Okay, this is where the truth divides. So as long as we're on the side of the truth, and it, not Nathan Oakley, not me, not Neil, okay, as long as the truth is causing division, I have no problems. If it's my personality, if it's my bias, I have a problem, because then it's my ego and everything else causing the division. I've said what I've said.
All right, Tim, let me say something real quick. I was going to say, Tim said exactly what I was trying to say before I was cut off. Like, I was taken out of context. I wasn't saying that y'all were not buddies and cool for years prior to me coming on board. All I know is I experienced that a friend stabbed another friend in the back by committing slander, defamation of character based on falsehood. He lied on Nathan and the FED crew with false allegations and slander, not even having truth on his side. And rightfully so, Nathan checked them by bringing out truth and shining the projected light upon them that they were trying to put on here as far as being the true scammers. That just inflated and inflated and inflated and inflated. Now we're to the point where Nathan is saying, look, we're not getting anywhere. It's hurting the audience. It's hurting me. It's hurting Jaron. Let's just come to a rational understanding. And that's what we have to do. Now, Neil, knowing more about it in the past than I do, that's why he's not about it, because he's looking at it like the way Tim and Adam said. What was the motivation to make somebody, a friend, stab a friend in the back, especially based on falsehood? And then when the person comes on your show and tries to let you understand that you were wrong, and then you continue and talk behind their back and call them scammers, that's somebody that you got to, like I said yesterday, walk on, tread carefully, because you got to understand the initial motivation is irrational. So are you still dealing with a rational person or a person that's setting you up for something? And like Tim said, hold on. Like Tim said, we're building on truth. So you send out the olive branch, you try to make amends. And if it doesn't work, you stand on truth. Trust me, truth will battle everything. It'll make them look more like the fools and the scammers, and it'll make you seem more like the rational, righteous person that stood for truth. Period.
Well,
John.
I would like to say I appreciate that Elijah has validated my arguing for people not being liars all this time and all the abuse that I took in that journey. Thank you, Elijah. You'll be on my side from now on. Appreciate that. But I think all of our opinions on this are not wrong. But I think Nathan's going the only route that you can go. He's going to have to turn the other cheek, and he's going to have to go out there and try, because that's what is called upon him to do. I hope he succeeds, but I myself have doubts, and that's just my opinion. But we all have our own opinion.
Yeah, totally agree. There's plenty of negativity that I could pay attention to, but none of it's really going to progress anything.
So what about the idea that, because instead of, well, the situation does have to be addressed, but what if the fault in logic is addressed? Like, what if we say, hey, this isn't affirming the consequent fallacy if that opportunity presents itself? And I think it would, because if we're talking about science and then Jaron says, well, what about this? When you take a Van de Graaff, blah, 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 like, wouldn't it make sense to point out that there's a logical or fallacious reasoning in that? And
No,
perhaps then...
Yes, but no, that comes later. So I understand that initially, if you're going to field objections in regards to claims of science that don't adhere to the method, then you might have to overcome that, or I may have to overcome that in discussion. Fine. The main focus will be on the logical consistency that the scientific method offers to achieve empiricism. In other words, my main focus initially, if I was talking to Jaron right now, how would I launch into it? Well, Jaron, I want to start by getting you to understand how science proves things and how it is empirical. Therefore, I need you to understand the logic behind science. If A, then B, and at the same time in the hypothesis, if A, not B. And how when you vary A, only one can be proven, and one will be proven. Therefore, you're proving things. Now, that I can summarize in 2 minutes. It was probably less, probably 30 seconds. I just summarized that. Yeah? Well, between the interruptions about what about the Van de Graaff, hopefully that 2 minutes of information can be conveyed to Jaron. Because it isn't very much information that I need to get across to him initially for him to understand how the method can achieve an empirical outcome. And
It's
that
already
is
been
based
done.
on the hypothesis.
It's
already been done.
QE's right. It's been done 10 times over. It's been done. You're going to do it again. Good. Let's see what happens.
All right. What color do you want me to paint the yard arm? That's all I need to know.
There were no yard arms in the Bible.
No, but you know what? There's a consistent track that I see with Jaron. Pseudoscience has pissed him off so much that there is no science.
Yeah.
An organized religion that he grew up in that lied to him about what the Bible teaches pissed him off so much that you can't trust the Bible.
Yeah.
When it was misinterpreted.
Yeah. Those lines aren't ones I'm going to be addressing, but in regards to the science and the scientific method, his lines, Jaron's lines, are blurred.
I was almost done.
But close to being focused by us. In terms of his epistemology towards Christ, that's not a battle I'm choosing.
No, I was almost done. I wasn't asking you to do that. Just let me finish. I said I see something reoccurring in the way of his thought processes. You know what it is? We've been lied to about everything, has got a hold of him in a different manner than when we say we were lied to about this, because the real scientific method doesn't work that way. We don't throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Yeah, I agree. But I was about to, while I was interrupting you, I was trying to point out that actually, if you listen closely, Jaron isn't actually that far off the mark. His lines are blurred, but they could be easily brought into focus because of his misapprehension about what science versus the science claims of pseudoscientists actually is and where the distinction lies. As long as we can clarify that distinction, we'll achieve some success. And so will he when he goes forward to actually debate, understanding the difference between the distinction of pseudoscience and science.
That's a good thing if you've never done it before, but you've done it for the last 3 years.
It shouldn't be anything unfamiliar to him then, should it?
No, what you are misunderstanding what QE's saying and what Neil is saying is if you've already done the thing you want to do next Thursday, that's 1 day. Well, you've got 3 years of doing it. That's three times 365 days.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But we can
hang on.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying don't meet. I want peace, right? But not at all cost. And I know Nathan won't sell us out, so I'm not worried about it. Okay, we're not going to change what we've been standing for. The question is, for 3 years, what Nathan plans to do Thursday, he's been doing, and they haven't changed. So I can't wait to see next Thursday to see how Jaren's going to go look at those videos. Hey, those guys, as he leans over that mic, those guys are scamming you, man. Those guys have money, this, whatever. They're scamming you. That is after 3 years of trying to do what Nathan's going to try to do next Thursday. So it's not like it hasn't been done. It hasn't been listened to. So maybe now there's been enough pressure with the way Toon was handled by Patrick versus the way Jaren just laid down like a puppy dog. Maybe now Jaren could say, you know what, it's in my best interest to stop being egotistical about this and meet with Nathan, who's on my side at the end of the day, and maybe listen a little bit more intently to what he's trying to say that I've been not listening to. Okay, that's from our side, of course. Okay, now, before I finish, I want to say this. If that is agreed upon, then the ether will divide us because the same logic will have to apply to the ether.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. I think the focus on Jaren is too heavy. Nathan was very clear. The point about Jaren was point number 3. If you guys remember point 1 and 2.
But one, most importantly, me. Yeah.
And this is 3 years later with new people in this conversation that have to be educated because we don't want people going out there and then getting their ass handed to them by pseudoscientists because they don't know the difference between science and pseudoscience. So that, remember, that's point number 2. That's really why I would like this to happen. Number 3 and number 1 is not really, doesn't really well, number 1 kind of has to do with me because if Nathan succeeds, then we succeed. But number 2 is the most important. There are other people out there that should be educated, his audience included.
Yeah. Okay, but see, Eli, what you just said in real time looks like this. So, Nathan, if I make peace, are you going to criticize us when we have a feast of nonsense? Nathan says, of course. I criticize my own panel when they have a feast of nonsense. Okay, well, I'm not going to make peace anymore because if I'm going to send my subscribers to you and you're going to talk bad about stuff that we want to believe in and can't prove based on the way you want proof to be proved.
You're getting ahead of yourself. I'm not asking for that. That's not what I'm asking
not
for.
saying you are. Can you just understand that everybody who's talking is coming from a certain perspective? This is my perspective. I'm looking into the future after you make peace. So you make peace on the scientific method. Great. We don't change anything.
Okay. I heard what you're saying.
I'm almost there, Nathan.
Okay. I heard what you're saying, but Eli's putting down.
No, you didn't.
I did.
No, you're
Your
stopping
concern is
me.
for the future. I get it.
No, you're stopping me.
Well, if I can respond, I know you've been interrupted, but my whole point was
so interrupt me.
There are others out there that will listen because they've never listened. They're new. They never got a chance to hear what Nathan is saying, aren't interested in what Nathan's saying because they found Jaren first. So it's not about him sending his audience anywhere. It's about exposing them and letting them decide.
Is that the way it works? Really? If you have ears, you will hear.
Yeah, because God changes people's hearts, not us.
Yeah, and God
that is how
says,
it works.
and God said, well, yeah, but this is Nathan and Jared, not God. And God
It's
says,
not about Nathan and Jared for the millionth time.
Yeah,
well,
that's
for
why
the
I was trying to
millionth time,
interrupt
it's
over
about
there,
truth. Why
Tenth.
are you interrupting the
Because
final
I'm trying,
part of my
Tenth,
phrase?
please yield for a second. Because you're not picking up what Eli's putting down, and it's what I was interrupting over last time, but you wouldn't let me interrupt.
From your perspective, but what I'm saying to Eli, God also says, please, let me finish. God also says, those that have ears will hear, and those that have eyes will see. What if Jaron doesn't have ears and eyes? So God also says that.
Okay, Eli's point is that the most important aspect is the angle I've tried to approach this from, which is the overall community understanding science and the scientific method. If Jaron can understand that, he will use it to his benefit.
I gotta bite my tongue. You've been doing that for 3 years.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, so you've tried that. My God, do I have to regurgitate the last 3 years to say that this isn't the first time you're going to offer this?
Yeah.
You've been
No, but it'll be
doing.
the first time that all the new listeners Eli's referring to will have it laid down
exactly
magnanimously for them to listen to live.
Exactly.
I'm all for that, Adam. I want 1 million flat earthers listening to what we've heard for 3 years, and I can't wait to hear Jaron's response on one day when I know his response for 3 years. I want that to happen. I'm not fighting it.
Just sounds
I
like
want
it.
those million lists. No, you're missing the point because you don't know the perspective I'm coming from. I think the greatest thing is next Thursday night. I cannot wait. Here's why. You get to say in one night what you've been saying for 3 years for all new listeners.
Yeah. Like you guys saying.
I love it because now we got Jaron's toes on the fire.
Sure, but the way it was being phrased was that, well, if Jaron sends his or stops sending his subscribe, no, it's not about that. What it's about is next time around, or let's say that this scenario happened 5 weeks ago before Jaron and Toon were up against each other. And in the period of that 5 weeks, I happen to have done what I'm hoping to achieve over the next 5 weeks, let's just say. And then Jaron goes up against Toon and annihilates him based on his scientific understanding with an audience watching. That's got nothing to do with whether or not I get subscribers out of him. Now, because he will have won, he's far less likely to call me a scammer over disseminating science, which is a win for me, indirectly. But it's not about him sending me his subscribers. That's not what I'm trying to achieve.
Yeah, it is. You say it every time. I have a selfish interest in this. I want my show to grow.
Yeah. I'll say it again. By getting Jaron to win against Toon in that hypothetical example, he won't be calling me a scammer anymore. Will he?
Right. You've been doing that for 3 years is what I'm saying.
It hasn't stopped him calling me a scammer, has it?
Right.
He's the Sith. Maybe
But that's my whole point. He doesn't have ears to hear or eyes to see. But I can't wait till Thursday when the whole flat earth so-called community that's aware of the show will be listening in to see you do the same thing that you haven't deviated from for 3 years. And then we're going to see Jaron's response. I can't wait to see that response. And I want the huge audience to see it. I'm not fighting it.
Okay.
I hope you're successful.
Go on, John.
I just said I hope you're successful. I really do. Hope you're able to reach him and get him to understand. I don't have a lot of faith in that, but I really do hope for you to be successful. But like Kent said, I think it'll be a boon for everyone else that's listening to hear it. So even if you're not, it's still a win. So good luck.
And I want to say I stand corrected. I'm learning a history lesson. I did not know that this approach or level approach coming up Thursday had been attempted 3 other times. I thought it was only one other time. So I stand corrected on that. That even more so sides me more leaning towards the Neil side, whereas 3 times a charm, what the hell is a fourth? That's all I want to know. Good luck.
That's true because we do have generations. The next geners, that being that being some of the newer people that are more popular now, that have come along during the time that I've come along in 2017 and after. These people are also not really on board I don't want to say I don't really know what it is. I would like this all to be. I can't wait for Thursday. Never mind. I can't wait for Thursday even.
Hey, Nathan, just real quick, if you don't mind, B with the Buzz posted the Discord if anybody needs it. I messaged you on Skype, Nathan. I DM'd you so that way we could talk about it. And yeah, it would be great to set this up Thursday. Just again, give me that time and whatever works out for you. I know me and Jaron here on the West Coast. So whatever time will work out for you, I'll just let him know. I'll relay that. That will work out.
Does anyone know Jaron's approximate weight?
Look, yard arm jokes, they're not going over anymore.
I need to get the diameter correct on the yard arm.
I need to know why Captain over here is not voicing. Give me something, QE.
I have a question for Apocrypha. You there, brother? Is this going to be your platform on Thursday?
Yeah, in the Discord. We and just
Okay,
depending on how you want to
okay.
do it, Nathan, we could do it through. What we usually do is we send you a StreamYard link, and you just simply follow it, and it's like through Chrome or whatever browser, and you could do video, if you want, or just be audio. That's fine.
Yeah, that's fine.
But you do have however you want to set it up, and then we just live stream it through the Discord, or we also through OBS we send it to YouTube. You can go to the
Yeah, I gotcha. That all that stuff's
Okay.
second nature to me. So it's my bad. I'm just trying to arrange the discussion with Jaron D Rose, but you go ahead.
I'm sorry. I just had because I'm going to finish. That was one question. The second question is, with that being asked, what is your stance, if I may ask, with scientific theory and ether, just in case on Thursday it gets a little bit chaotic and you have to be the neutral moderator or the moderator that may not have, or maybe on one side or the other? Because I don't remember if you're hearing anything about your stance.
Just another tool,
your stance.
it would just become another tool, right? If your objective is to teach someone about something specific, and they bring up an ancillary subject, the good teacher takes that segue away from the subject matter and brings it back on track. So if you're saying, what do you do if he brings up ether? I say, oh, brilliant example. Let's see if we can example this discussion about how scientific empiricism can be lent to stuff with ether if you choose to do so. So let's start by talking about the naturally observed phenomena and see where we can fit this into the scientific method. Now, if that was the case, obviously the conclusion at the end of that process is that it doesn't go through the scientific method, unfortunately, for any ether believers. Now, that may be unfortunate that that example's been incorporated into a lesson about the scientific method, but that's not my problem. My objective is to achieve Jaron with an understanding of how science proves things, so that, in turn, he can understand why the words get hijacked. And the hijacking of the word isn't the science. It isn't science. It's only science in name only to steal the valor from science. That's the lesson. If incorporated into that lesson becomes some lesson that ends up debunking ether because it doesn't incorporate the scientific method, that's just the way it goes. Now, having spoken to Jaron on multiple occasions, not on air, Jaron decries ether. Doesn't like associating himself with it when Bob was talking about it. Now, I'm just going to make that straight so you all know that about him right now, because you're all under this misapprehension that he's some devout ether believer. I'm pretty sure you'll find that's not the case if you actually talk to the guy. Now, maybe that's changed since I've had discussions with him about it, and he's told me off for inferring that he is one. Just so you know, yeah, he's given me an earful and demanded that I give him examples where he said that he's an ether believer or made examples that prove ether. He's demanded them from me, and I've had to stumble on my own words and go, actually, I don't have any of those. I'm sure I've got them somewhere, like a weasel, because I didn't. So let that be known at this point, because you're all concerned about him suddenly launching into some attack over ether. He's not Bob, right? That's the first thing. Number two, it's not my objective. All I want to achieve from a selfish point of view, from me, is subscribers all coming my way. It's just that there isn't any detriment to what we do here. And in fact, it lends credence to what we do here when he wins an argument with the scientific method. Yeah, that's it. That's the win for me. It's enough. Overall, Eli's point is the main one and the angle I'm using. That will benefit the community. If everybody's singing from the same hymn sheet and annihilating Toon, in this instance, for this example, with the scientific method, not one doing it and one not doing it, then the audience gets a unified message and they take it on board easier, and then they will use it to their effect.
Yeah, I agree. Don't invoke the ether. If he does try to move away from it, I agree, because it's about the scientific method.
Correct. I tried to do too much on Globebusters when I went on. I tried to explain scientific method, how ether wasn't real, and how one aspect of ether was utilizable to debunk Coriolis effect. I incorporated all three of those very complex subjects. Most complicated of all was Coriolis, into one sitting with Globebusters. And realistically, I was trying to do too much. What I should have done was just focus on one of them. So be it the fact that they're using gyroscopes. Okay, lads, let's get the nitty gritty down of how a gyroscope spins, and if Earth turns underneath, it drifts. So Earth's got to turn underneath. That's going to shorten flight times. And just focus on that and nothing else. That would have been successful. But trying to do that and utilise their claim of ether drag with the same drift at 15 degrees an hour to debunk ether and explain how it could be used to debunk Coriolis if we focused on the globe, but simultaneously explain how science wasn't incorporated in their ether drag and Michelson-Morley because it wasn't really science. Too many subjects.
Yeah, one had already been. You came on Iron Realm. This is about the time that this thing is growing. I described it as John hitting me around the head with a wet fish when I was reborn in the scientific method, realizing what I'd been mugged off myself. Okay, and you came on, and I remember John Savage being very famous from his gyroscope. All over Twitter, all over YouTube, his filming of the gyroscope staying static. He didn't see his arse when you tried to explain to him why it wasn't an experiment. Yeah, these were funky times, and it's these times where things changed and things were divided, and you can see why. Because to validate some ideas that people have and world viewpoints, it was necessary for them to have to abandon and not recognise the scientific method. And it's gone on a long time. But you're not to blame for that. What happened on Globebusters wasn't about volume of critique. It was that whatever, if he'd have just stuck with one, it was never going to be accepted, because that critique destroyed the preponderance of evidence that supported Bob's worldview. Yeah, that's why it was never accepted. That's why I was a troublesome thorn in a network that believed like that, and I'm not opposed to it, but I was a troublesome thorn in that viewpoint. I would only ever present dissent. Yeah, that this is what really happened back then. Let's not pretend. Their behaviour was certainly not to my standards. Yeah, and so there's no critique on you for what you did. What happened that day? Go back and listen to it. It's perfectly clear what happened. Your description of the scientific method was not welcome. And will it still be? I don't know. And I doubt very much. It doesn't stop you sticking your hand out. But that has to be accepted, because that's the thing that got us off this stupid ball.
Right. Well, John Refracted Curvature is of the attitude that the Feast of Nonsense is enough and profitable enough to keep them shying away from the empiricism, because it will detract from the Feast of Nonsense that they disseminate. That was John's attitude yesterday. We didn't get to focus on it as much as my efforts were directed that way. But maybe that is the case, because in many instances, like we describe the anti-flat earthers raised to popularity by a direct result of redirected views towards them, the same could be true of any controlled nonsense that goes into our area and would be presumably promoted in the same way if it's coming from the same source. It's all feast and nonsense. So it might be enough to keep them away from wanting to affirm the empiricism of science. If that's what John's speculating, it's one of those where I've just told you not to be down in the mouth and negative about it and predict the future negatively. But the feast and nonsense, it's got a lot of sugar in it. Let's be honest.
Yeah, and let people feast on it, because we've had this discussion before. And okay, we can warn people about what that buffet is over there, how it looks okay, but it has no real substance to it. Okay, it's a replacement. But tell people all you want. They've got to go find out for themselves. And I'm more than happy, to demonstrate our methodology, what we do, how we approach it. Yeah, I don't need to scare them away from that buffet. Go and have a go on it. Go and have a bang on it. See how satisfying and for how long it's satisfying. Because it won't be. Because the reason you came here to Flat Earth is because you had a brain and you could see bullshit. Yeah. So it won't satisfy for long, and I don't think it does.
Perfect. With that, I'm going to say another huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams for hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining as a member, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!